Yep.
Uh, Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm Manuela Sivi. I'm one of the co-founders of Alpha, and I'm joined today by Elise and Renata, my co-founder, which is on the phone. So there will be no camera of her, but we can hear her. So Elise, do you want to just quickly, very quickly introduce yourself?
Yes, certainly. So my name is Elise. Thank you all for being there. And I am the founder of Sugi. And what we do is that we have a global platform that focuses on the restoration of biodiversity and rewilding of urban spaces.
Fantastic, fantastic. Renata, do you want to talk a little bit about, um, us as well?
Us?
Yeah.
Sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Renata Tom. I'm a co-founder at Alpha. Alpha is a B2B art platform connecting visual artists to real estate companies. We started the company back in 2014 in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And we've moved to the US back in 2017, where we've been operational since. My co-founder is going to be sharing a bit more, some slides about like the work we do. But basically what we try to achieve, or what we achieve, is a seamless experience for art collecting and helping interior designers complete bigger projects in real estate, also connecting with the local art communities.
Yeah, essentially, just to summarize, Alpha really does offer the quality of a gallery, the speed of online and accessible pricing, and highly customized options, which was a pain point that we knew that came from the real estate industry of how can, you put together a project that is within budget, but at the same time connected to the local community and tech infused. We're going to show a quick 1-minute video as well about, one of the projects that came from basically just interacting with more of our clients during COVID. But first, I'm going to let Elise talk a little bit more about, Sugi as well.
Thank you, Manuela. So thank you for having me. With Sugi, in fact, first of all, it was born out of a personal need. A couple of years ago, 2018, I wanted to plant trees and I wanted to commemorate a moment. I found myself going through a lot of tree planting organizations. Most of them, planting millions of trees, but the whole experience left me quite puzzled. Like, how are they planting the trees and where are they planting the trees? And are they restoring biodiversity and how many survive? So very much in a nutshell, I ended up founding Sugi, and we launched in May last year with the first project in Beirut, where we created an urban forest. So what we do with Sugi is that we create these ultra-dense biodiverse forests of native species only, according to a proven Japanese method. It's called the Miyawaki method. And these forests are 100% natural, 100 times denser. They function on very small spaces, can go from 10 by 2 meters in a very small and long range, can be as the size of a tennis field. But the idea is to restore not only soil, but also these abandoned spaces into lush, wild, biodiverse little jungles. Now, we all know the benefits of trees in cities. I can happily repeat that. But with Sugi, that's one of the things we do. What we really allow is that for anyone, anywhere, to invest in nature. You see, with $5 a month, you can be part of that whole ecosystem that we're building. We're not focusing only on the tree. It goes from the soil to the people, to the communities that we touch, to the footprint, and everything that comes with it. I think there's a slide where you can see a little bit of the results. Those forests, as soon as you plant them in 2 to 3 years only, you get really maintenance-free forests there. If you go to the next slide. Yeah, there you go. So see, after 2 years, you got these real incredible pockets of of nature that are back, and it can grow anywhere.
And they're maintenance free. How does that work, Elise? So basically you make the investment to have the forest built in an empty space, and they just live. How long does it take for, how long do you have to care for the forest until they can actually pick up a life of their own?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, and this is really part of the process in that forest making, is we start with the soil, because the soil, I'm sure that many of you saw that Kiss the Ground documentary, but it starts with the soil. When you cultivate the soil, you cultivate beauty, right? And through that, we on a square meter, 10 square feet, we plant about 3 to 5 trees. Through doing so, you create these fungal networks that really the trees, they connect uber fast. And so it's like, how do you call that? Selection between them, one helps the other.
Yeah.
And for example, in Queensland, Australia, I mean, tropical climate, in a year and a half, you can have a completely maintenance-free forest. I mean, you can see the image in the middle. That's a 1 year. That's a 9-month forest. 1 year. It's now 1 year. It's like the trees are over 2 meters high. Of course, in climates like ours in Europe, I mean, it would take probably 2 years for it to be maintenance free, because, in the beginning, it's important to de-weed. Otherwise, you really start with saplings that are only like 40 to 60 centimeters high. And through that, through really maintaining it, you get to the results of it.
Fantastic. At least, since our topic is, really using design to rethink spatial use, what would be an interesting project that you've participated with in Sugi that's connected with, either an urban center or an office space? How did that change how people interacted with that space? And how did that change air quality as well, which is one of the things that, I feel like is a topic for the world in 2020.
Yeah, I think air quality, I mean, first of all, you have to know, like, these forests are so dense that they also allow us, and work as sound barriers. So not only will they help you cool temperatures when you put them close to buildings, they will also help you as a sound barrier. I mean, they're beautiful to look at, but also, for example, when it really rains heavily, they help to mitigate stormwater. I mean, there are little sinks of carbon. Now, to your question, Manuela, it's like, we are actually, as you know, we're quite young, but we're really active right now, for example, in London. In London, we're going to be planting in the fall our largest Milwaukee forest in the UK, but probably in Europe. 30,000 trees, 1 hectare. And it's a great example because it's a neighborhood in Barking and Dagenham that, has its green, has its trees, but it has a large park. And that park, the grass, is sandy and is brownish. And so what are the benefits? Right now, not many, So what we do is we will bring there a lush forest, and actually it's called the Forest of Thanks. And it's a forest that commemorates also that period of frontline helpers during the COVID period. And the reason why we do this forest is that we realize when we're at home and we're locked in, we can take short walks. We want to try and reconnect with nature. And that's the whole idea with Sugi, is wherever we go is reconnecting people with nature at short distance. It doesn't need to be far away forest, they can be right outside your door. Like 3 square meters could be a perfect little jungle jam.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Renata, now to our topic as well of spatial use and connectivity. What would you say is a relevant project that came as well from our experiences with just the demands of tenants and building owners? What is something that just kept coming back, and how did that gravitate into a product?
I would say this most recent project that we launched, Alpha Connect, which came during when the pandemic started, really. I think a big objective for art is to bring people together and to speak about share values and experiences. And when we all saw ourselves separated physically. Like we had to stop and think about like, you know, how to continue doing what we're doing like in a different way. And basically what Alpha Connect is a series of interviews that we've been running with artists and other collaborators from Alpha, and really like offering our public the opportunity to learn about those people's words through their own words. With that said, like the practical application to that like can be done through the use of QR codes that we then install on our clients' space. So when people are passing by, like instead of just like stopping and admiring an artwork that is hanging on the wall, they can scan the QR code and learn, like have that connectivity with the artists and like the other like collaborators for that project. I think Manuela is sharing a video, or at least
we'll share. We'll share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which talks a little bit more about the project.
Yeah, so I feel like, you know, the two projects that we've just talked about really do show the demands that we're facing, you know, in today's world. It's just not enough to put forward a block of concrete and expect people to want to work in it or to want to live in it. I'm so sorry. Something is still playing. There. So, you know, I'd love to learn a little bit more as well here from what was this experience working with the landlords? How did they, you know, what was their interest in the local community, since we talked about this so much during Alpha Connect?
Sure. So I think like two of the biggest requests that we receive from our clients are usually like number one, to find like or to create an art collection that goes like well with your aesthetic vision for the project, but also to bring a little bit more of the like local culture into the properties, and that's done through like working with local artists. Like Manuela said, like it's not enough like nowadays for you to put like prints on the wall, like, or to deliver something which is like similar to like what you would see like in other properties, or that like, you know, would like under like appreciate the value of like a beautiful property by just like putting posters up, and people like can find out like all the information they need with the click of a button. So like people really want to like see that like you're going one step further, like, and connecting with the local community, like, and bringing like different readings of like that space like into your property. And like for all of the years that we've worked with at Alpha, like, and with especially like emerging artists, like it's amazing to see the amount of like brilliant creatives that there are everywhere. Like, and one of the bigger challenge for like then the creative side is to find different channels for them to be sharing with the world their beautiful works. And I think that like if you think about like the lobby of a building, like, or like, you know, like real estate properties in general, those can work as like art galleries, unconventional art galleries. like yeah, be like a perfect outlet for them to be sharing their works.
That's great. That's you know, it really is the future of buildings in many ways. And my next question, Elise, is how does it work for someone to engage Sugi? Let's say that I'm building a city or a mixed use development. What's the step for me to really have, you know, this great biophilia in my property?
It's not difficult. You just send us an email. No. I mean, really, it's not difficult. Meaning, like, okay, first of all, you get in touch with us. Then we're gonna have to see, you know, where are you based? What's your location? You know, see if we have a forest maker that is on location. We then do a soil analysis. Very important. Depending on the location you're at, you know, we'll look into the type of trees that we need. And then from there, I mean, we plant. So it sounds straightforward. I mean, of course, the process and the method is you have to master it. But basically, anyone can integrate it anywhere. And what I would say though is that, see, here's the thing. Like, I think there's a preset conditioning construction, if I'm not mistaken, where a number of trees need to be planted in any case. So and then I'm thinking, you know, why not do it in a biodiverse way? You know, why not integrate them at once into the buildings? Because I think that is also the future. If you look at it now, the conversation around biodiversity and the biodiversity loss that we're facing, I think it's if everyone anywhere like starts to add in these little pockets, then, you know, we might have a good success rate.
Yeah, and how much does it usually cost? I think that's always like a question that comes into development. And, you know, obviously there's so many perks of having clean air, the noise reduction, all of the different things that we've talked about. So how much does it usually cost to just, you know, in terms of size?
Yeah, I mean, of course. So let's say a good size is 200 square meters. It doesn't even have to be much. Or like 6 parking spots, size of a tennis field, can be done in the length or in a rectangular as you want. Again, depending on the country, but let's say European countries, think a fair pricing to look at it per square meter would be around, I would say, around $80 to $100, or like, you know, 80 euros for sure.
That's it for a forest? And
yeah, I mean, it's really worth it, because here's the thing, you know, if you think about a green lawn, and if you do like, think about, I mean, I'm sometimes, having lived there, you know, Silicon Valley, when you look at all these green lawns they have, think about the watering that takes, the cost of that. So here's the thing, with these forests, not only have they all these benefits of water retention, stormwater mitigation, they cool your building, you know, so your cost of like air conditioning, and when it's really that these heat islands, they reduce the heat islands in cities. And then of course there's the whole quality of air and, you know, carbon sinks and so on and so forth. And of course, if your staff or your people can go and sit there for lunch, you know, who doesn't want to go and have lunch in a forest? So, you know, there's all these benefits to it. But on top of that, okay, the initial price might be a little more expensive, but then over the years, if you look at it over 10 years, I mean, watering a lawn is actually much more expensive, yeah, in maintenance.
And I know we talked privately about, you know, different projects, vertical gardens, rooftops. What was an interesting project that, you know, you collaborated recently, and what was the location, and what are the limitations? Like, if I have a parking lot, as you mentioned, what do I have to do with the concrete? Or if I have a vertical space, or if I have a rooftop, what are the processes in getting this biophilia and this forest built in these unconventional spaces?
Yeah, I think obsolete concrete, if you think about it, there's so much that has been poured over with concrete. So, you know, taking away concrete is never an easy process. I think when you're building a building, it's, you know, the same. This is just the same process. You know, we must make sure when we create these forests also that we don't hit pipes, and we don't hit, because here's the thing, those trees would really set their roots down. Yeah. So that's one thing. So whatever you work on, you know, there can't be electricity lines running above it, because otherwise you get the effect of all the burns that are happening right now, the fires. So there's a preset of conditions that comes with it. But for example, on a vertical building, recently I was asked a question, you know, what do you think of a bosco verticale? And I think, I mean, yes, if we can make our cities greener, it's fantastic, and why not do it? The great thing would be is that the type of plants and shrubs and smaller trees that we choose, can they be native? And because native brings back that biodiversity, and that would be really, that's a great thing. And we're working here now on a project in Switzerland with that. So it's exciting, should be coming up soon.
No, that's exciting. And I'm just thinking here, just off the top of my head here, and this is for Renata and Elise, there could be an interesting collaboration of maybe thinking of an artist to register this process as well in video content, like the forest growing out of the concrete, and, you know, how easy it is to mitigate the effects of what we're doing to the planet if we just add a little bit of focus to it.
I love that, and if you look at in the slides that that you had there, there's one image of in Minnesota, U.S., where a Chinese artist had actually created a concrete sculptures or iron sculptures, sorry, and we created the forest around that. Can you see?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
right
now
here.
they're completely integrated. So there's a.
I thought it was something to hold the trees, like it's like an art piece in there.
It's language through the forest, yeah, and of course, as you said, we work with a lot of. I mean, we'd like to work with more, but artists to record that process. We love that, you know, to document it, you know, to tell the story.
Yeah, like, and I think going back a bit to the core idea of Alpha Connect, you know, like, and the importance to share with people like a little bit of context. Like being that like about an art project or like the like forests, you know, like I think like people appreciate it much more once they can understand the reasons behind it, like, and they can like feel like, you know, they can see like with their own eyes like a bit of the process, like, and it's not like you're not only delivering a final product, you know, like I think like making them feel that like they are part or they understand, that like creates way more empathy, like, and eventually hopefully engagement from the general public.
Yeah, and it builds a ton of value as well for the property, right? Because you're not only you're building on the community, you're building on the environmental impact. I was watching an interview the other day with Brandon Wallace from Fifth Wall, and I was completely unaware that the real estate industry is responsible for 40% of fossil fuel emissions to this day. So if we can build in a more conscious manner that will over the years maybe reduce that impact and have greener buildings and have more community impact as well of these stories, you create people that are more connected, no?
Mm-hmm. I find that too. As soon as you bring people together to plant a forest, that's the first thing. It's bonding, and then if you think about it, the apartment that you will choose or the house or whatever, it's like mostly you will try and find places that have green around it, right? So I think today more than any day, it's like this is so important to have that green. Yeah,
and I think that's something else that we've learned with COVID, right? That like people who are still in the big cities, it's really like an oasis to have something like the Central Park, you know, like, and if you think about, you know, like maybe like that's like one of the first examples like of like something like what you're doing with Sugi, at least, because you know, like for like a concrete jungle that New York City is, like having that, like it's such a beautiful present to the people who live here, like, and like on a personal like note, that has been like what has kept me like sane like during those months like of lockdown, like, and being here, you know, because it is like you go back to like where we all came from, you know, like you feel that like you're connected to something bigger.
Well, girls, it's been
Yeah,
a fantastic
that's it.
session. I don't know how we're out of time. The conversation was flowing so well. But I feel like we touched on some essential topics. It's just not enough to provide concrete boxes. We need integrated community elements, and we need greener spaces. So, we're happy to help. If anybody needs to reach out, we'll leave our contacts in the networking booth. So thank you very much for joining.
Thank you for having me, Manuela.
Ciao.
Bye then.
Ciao.
Bye bye.